who is this random bench warmer for the Minnesota Timberwolves that has broke onto the scene over the past couple of weeks, locking down superstars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, and then other incredible offensive players like DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, and Bradley Beal. Meet Jaylen Clark, a second-year player out of UCLA. We'll dive more into his backstory in 1 second, but just a short 3 weeks ago, Jaylen Clark got the opportunity to play his first ever big NBA minutes versus the Phoenix Suns, and he has not looked back. Before we dive into exactly what he has accomplished in his very short 10-game NBA career, let's go back to where it all began. Jaylen Clark was a top 100 recruit, 83rd ranked overall in the class of 2020. Being from Southern California himself, it was only natural that he attended the University of California, Los Angeles. As a freshman, he would be on that iconic team that got hot at the right time, making it all the way from the first four to the final four, led by Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez. Jaylen Clark would barely play that season, but if we fast forward to his junior year, he was now one of the best players on the team, averaging 13 points per game, 6 rebounds, and tied for 6th in the entire NCAA in steals per game at 2.6. He was one of the most improved Bruins from his sophomore season, where he only played 18 minutes per game, averaging 6.7 points, and he was by far the best defensive player on the team. Matter of fact, he actually won Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in his junior season. But unfortunately for Jaylen Clark, his junior year did not end the way he wanted it to. On this uncontested layup versus Arizona, he would come down awkwardly, knowing something wasn't right away and leaving the game. Soon after, UCLA would announce what was most feared. Jaylen Clark had torn his Achilles just 2 weeks before March Madness. And at this point, UCLA was hovering around the 1 seed line. They were 26-4. It was a massive blow to a team that had one of the best defenders in the nation. UCLA would go on to be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament that year, and after barely escaping a second round upset to Northwestern, they would lose to 3 seed Gonzaga 79-76. Jaylen Clark then declares for the NBA draft, which I think was a really smart move because there's no point in coming back to college when you're going to be out an entire year anyway. But it moved him down the draft boards. A lot of people said he was going to go in the top 40, ends up getting taken 53rd overall in the second round by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And GM Tim Connolly had this to say about Jaylen Clark and the selection. We're excited, super excited about Jaylen Clark. We had him as a high first round grade all year. And while the Timberwolves saw potential in him, Jaylen Clark still had to spend his entire rookie season rehabbing from that torn Achilles. Remember, he tore it at the very end of his junior year, the last regular season game of the year. It wasn't like he tore it early on in the season, had a ton of time to recover. After rehabbing the entirety of the 2023-2024 season, Jaylen Clark would finally get the go-ahead to resume basketball activities in the summer of 2024. And after spending about 20 games or so in the G League, and due to some injuries the Timberwolves have had this season to Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, plus with Naz Reid being out sick, Jaylen Clark would get his first ever opportunity in his NBA career to play meaningful minutes in an NBA game when Chris Finch checked him in midway through the second quarter. And Jaylen would immediately make known why he got Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, with possessions like these on Bradley Beal and Devin Booker throughout the game, finishing in a win for the Wolves 121-113, having just 2 points in 10 minutes, but having a plus-minus of +9 and providing a spark on the defensive end for the Wolves at a time where they were down 7 points in this game. And that was enough for Chris Finch to say, okay, Jaylen, you're getting more opportunities in the future. Matter of fact, he's played significant minutes in every single one of the Timberwolves games over the last 10 games, averaging 19 minutes per game, 6.5 points, shooting 39% from 3. And some of my favorite performances from him were against Sacramento when the Wolves lost by 2, but Jaylen Clark had some incredible defense versus DeMar DeRozan and Malik Monk, as you can see here, and as I referenced in those 18 minutes, he had 7 points, and he had a plus-minus of 0 in a game the Wolves lost by 2. Against the Houston Rockets a few days later, in 18 minutes as well, he'd go 5 for 9 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and have a career-high 17 points. And he'd also play extremely well in a 16-point win over the Portland Trail Blazers, 4 for 6 from the field, 11 points, and 3 steals. But my favorite performance from Jaylen Clark so far this year was the game right before the All-Star break. In a game the Wolves led wire to wire over the Thunder, the first loss the Thunder have had this year without a lead in it, and Jaylen Clark was a major reason for that. Even though on the offensive end, he didn't shoot it too well, going 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. While he was guarding SGA, he held him to 1 for 7 from the field. And here are all of those possessions. He gets a block on SGA on one of the most OP moves in the league. I don't know how he blocked it, but that's part of Jaylen Clark's game. His defense is unorthodox. It has its own unique style to it. And these percentages would be much better if he didn't shoot 1 for 12 over the last 2 games. It really is just a super cool story where a guy gets his one opportunity and he takes advantage of it. And now the Wolves can see that Jaylen Clark's defense does translate in the NBA, that he can be a core piece of theirs in the future. And as long as he can shoot a league average from 3, his off-ball movement on offense is incredible. His rim field goal percentage is fantastic, and his ability to cut without the ball is something every NBA team can use more of. So I'm so excited for Jaylen Clark. Truly, I am. He's a player that deserves it. He's overcome so much adversity. You never know with Achilles if a guy's ever going to be the same again, especially a guy that needs his athleticism on the defensive end. Right now, Jaylen Clark analytically doesn't necessarily have the greatest advanced analytics, but that's to be expected for a rookie. However, he does have an incredible deflection rate according to Center's Culture in the 92nd percentile, and the tape is there. You watch him play defense. He can guard and lock down a lot of really good players in today's NBA, and the scariest part is that he only has 10 in-game reps. He's only played 20 games in the G League. He didn't play for an entire year, and he's just getting started. That's what I love about this Wolves team. I think they have a lot of decisions to make this offseason, with Julius Randle having the potential to opt out of his contract, with Rudy Gobert getting 1 year older and looking a little suspect this year. But if anything, what's been proven over the last couple weeks, with Julius Randle out, with Dante DiVincenzo out, and with Mike Conley dealing with a dislocated finger, it's that the future of this Wolves team is its young core, and guys like Terrence Shannon Jr., Jaylen Clark, and Rob Dillingham have shown at least a glimmer that they will be a part of that. TSJ had a career high versus Oklahoma City and just is flying around defensively and also flying to the rim on offense. Rob Dillingham has had incredible playmaking flashes and obviously his ability to create, get loose, and shoot. Naz Reid's averaging similar numbers to Julius Randle starting, and Jaden McDaniels has taken a huge step forward offensively with Dante DiVincenzo out. I'm excited about this Wolves team. It's maybe 1 step back, but 2 steps forward over the next 5 years with that Cat trade. And Jaylen Clark is going to be a huge piece over the next couple of years. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be on the lookout soon for March Madness content. That's what it's going to be for about the next 4 to 5 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, we'll see you on the hardwood.